What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Tirado, and welcome back. In today's news, Trump is trying to abolish the DOE, the Department of Education, and wants to take our federal funds, reallocate them back to the states. Now, Bill Bennett was recently interviewed this morning and by Fox News and made a pretty good suggestion. There's some things I agree with, some things I don't agree with, but let's listen and let's see what he has to say.
So today, President Trump pushing forward with his plan to abolish the Department of Education completely when he signs an executive order making it official. President Reagan was the first to call for this. Fox News contributor Bill Bennett served as Reagan's education secretary, and he joins us now. Good morning, Bill.
Hey, good morning. Good morning, Lawrence. How are you?
So, good, brother. So this is a few things that are going to come out in this executive order.
How are you?
So, good, brother. So this is a few things that are...
We're not referring to him as brother. Come on, man. This man is old enough to be your grandfather, okay? We're not going to be referring to him as brother. Give him the respect that he deserves. His title would be sir. Good, sir. Good. Come on, man. These millennials are crazy. Gen Z, millennials, all of y'all have no respect. Let's continue.
Come out in this executive order. He's going to direct the education secretary to facilitate closures of departments. He's going to return education authority to the states, continue to ensure effective, uninterrupted delivery of services and programs and benefits, and he's going to prevent programs from receiving funds from advancing DEI or gender ideology. Is this a good thing?
Yeah, it's a good thing. In terms of far-reaching, I think what he's doing in higher ed may have a greater impact overall, but we'll see. There's a question as to whether he can send a lot of this back to the states, which is one of the main things they're doing, without congressional authority. These programs were created by the states, by the legislatures, federal legislature, and he may need their approval. But I would actually go one better, one tougher than the president. Instead of just sending it back to the states, send it back to the people. Do you really want to give 15% of your grants?
Boom. There it is. Send it back to the people. For those that didn't catch that, listen to this again for the people in the back. Pay attention.
Instead of just sending it back to the states, send it back to the people. Do you really want to give 15% of your grants to the state of California since they do with this whatever you want? I don't.
There it is. That's all I needed to hear. We don't have to send it back to the states. Honestly, that's just going to put us right back in the situation we were in a few decades ago. Okay, back in the 60s or the 70s, whenever it was, whenever the states had full control over it. Look, the educational system was trash then. It's trash today. In fact, in my opinion, I think it's worse today. And as far as there being disparities, there's always going to be disparities because you're always going to have a high tax bracket in certain counties that are making more money, well-to-do people that may have better schools. So people will argue about disparities and how the educational system is unfair. Well, it's been like that for the last, 60, 70 years? Come on. It's maybe even longer. If we go back, let me just go back. Before the federal government became heavily involved in education funding, state and local governments had primary control over school funding, right? Here's how it worked. Number one was local funding, primarily property taxes. This is why our taxes are nuts. Our school taxes are insane. All right. The major shift began with the Elementary and Secondary Education Act, which is known as ESEA of 1965, part of President Lyndon B. Johnson's War on Poverty. Did anything change? Has anything changed? It's still the same way. Over time, federal influence grew with laws like No Child Left Behind in 2001 and Every Student Succeeds Act in 2015. Has that worked? Look at the grades. Look at the overall test scores amongst kids today. The reading scores, the math scores, right? Science, overall in general. Look, the data speaks for itself. It sucks. So this is why I agree with Bennett. Give it back to the parents. Give it back to the parents. It makes sense. I think we should provide what they call an education savings account for each parent. For each parent, or better yet, for each child. Okay, give us back our tax dollars so that way we can lock it into a savings account, an educational savings account. And when that child is ready to go to school, now we have money to decide where we want to put our children, whether it be a private school, whether they want to stay at home, whether it be a Catholic school, some sort of religious school. It doesn't matter. Even a public school. At least you give the incentive for these schools, these charter schools and public schools and private schools, to compete against each other. They're competing against each other for our dollar. So what would that make them do? What would that make these private institutions do? Well, teach our kids a bit better. So now when we're looking at the scores that are coming out of, let's just say, school A, we can see how school A is thriving. Well, school B isn't thriving as much. Well, maybe it's because it's the teachers. It has nothing to do with the students. Maybe it's the teachers that suck. Right? So you know what? I'm going to go with school A. But then there's this worry that, well, what if school A is overcrowded, right? Well, maybe that will incentivize them to build bigger. Maybe they have a plan. Maybe they can buy out other schools that are failing and utilize those building structures to put more students in there. They obviously have a curriculum that works. School B doesn't. I don't know. I think as a parent, I think that makes sense. It makes sense for me. School choice expansion. Families could choose between public schools, private schools, charter schools, online programs, or homeschooling using their allocated funds as they see fit. Absolutely. State or federal guidelines on spending. There would likely be restrictions on how funds are used. They must go towards accredited educational expenses, not general household needs. Absolutely. Put a lock on it. Make sure that there's some sort of connection between where you spend the money and the school system. It's simple. It can be simple. We're sending people to space. Like, come on, man. This is not rocket science here. This is just basic information. Last would be uncertain impact on standardized performance. Just because parents control funds doesn't mean schools will necessarily improve or that students will perform better on standardized tests. Well, look, we tried it before. The states had control. The federal government has control. Now they're trying to put it back to the states. I say give it to the parents. We haven't tried that. And we haven't tried that for a reason, because they know it would work. It would work. Give us our money back, man. Stop playing with us. Anyway, what say you? You agree, disagree? If so, leave it in the comments. I'll see you on the next one.